Individuals. Joining us now to discuss all the developments in testing is Steve McMillan, Hologic CEO. Welcome back, Steve. Good to have you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good to have you. Good to see you again.
What's the difference between testing asymptomatic people and symptomatic people from a testing perspective? Is it a different kind of test?
Yeah, really what it does is it builds on our expertise in identifying very early and sensitive cases. So it's the same kind of thinking that our scientists brought to the invention of 3D mammography. The key in any diagnosis is earlier and better. And so exactly what we brought to breast cancer and then brought to cervical cancer with Pap testing and HPV testing, what we brought to sexually transmitted infections, what we have is a technology that is so sensitive, it can pick up the disease faster, and therefore we're able to get the asymptomatic claim. Think about it in simple terms. The life of a COVID, let's say you get it tomorrow. It's going to build in your system, and then at the peak, right, you'll have a higher viral load, and then that will come back down. So what you want to be able to do is catch it in that very early stage, particularly as we try to test people who may have been exposed but don't feel symptoms. So the magic is our technology is sensitive enough to pick it up earlier and therefore be able to act and take the actions that we all want to take better.
Got it. So how is this test administered, and what sort of use cases do you see for it?
Sure. It's the same test that we had approved in early May by the FDA, which has subsequently really helped alleviate a lot of the shortages that were in the country prior to us coming to market. You hear a lot about PCR testing, which is really a version of molecular testing. And we use a different technology. It's called transcription-mediated amplification. In simple terms, it's TMA. So it's a different technology. That test was approved in May, cleared in May, and we've literally run tens of millions of tests. So during that time, we've been able to generate the data set. We've helped alleviate the problems. We've helped the U.S. ramp dramatically in terms of testing. And now, most importantly, because of the sensitivity of our test, and even the FDA recently had put out a table showing we have the most sensitive high-volume test on the market, what that shows is our ability to pick things up earlier. So our organization, we've ramped, we've produced tens of millions of tests now, generating that data to be able to help catapult us further as a society to, get back to work. Even you had, I know Bob Chapek from Disney was on earlier, wanting to get more of their parks open safely, which we can do in this country now.
But Steve, I mean, this is encouraging about your new asymptomatic tests. But have we not learned in the last couple of weeks with all of the cases arising out of the White House of the limits of testing overall? The fact that a lot of people can be tested and not show to be positive, but still be carrying the disease and have that show up a few days or a few weeks later, such that even if you do have the best testing in place, you can't realistically open large stadiums and expect to get perfect results just by testing alone.
Wilfred, actually, I would argue a little differently, which is the right tests in the right environment will help us prevent exactly what did happen at the White House. The key is using the right tests at the right time where we can pick up these asymptomatic people. Think about it very simple. Let's say you had to have a knee replaced tomorrow. You can go to the hospital. They're not going to admit you for your knee replacement tomorrow without giving you the best test on the planet. And what they're going to do is they're going to ask you to come in today, be tested using a molecular test that is far more sensitive and far more specific. Part of the challenge is in the rush to get tests out, a whole bunch of tests have been out there, and they haven't necessarily been used to their full labeled specifications. So it's about using the right tests in the right time in the right environment. I'm not saying we're going to get 100,000 people back in the stadiums, but you are starting to see in a lot of cases the ability to start to get partway back. We need to take steps. We can't sit on the sidelines until 330 million people in this country are vaccinated at some point, 10, 18 months from now. There are ways, just as we use diagnostics in breast cancer, as we used it in the early days of HIV. there are ways that we can get a lot smarter, and we're even seeing we're able to treat it now very differently than the high death rates that we saw very early on.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.